What's up, my fellow Michiganians, Michiganders, whatever you happen to call yourselves? Welcome to Wolverine State Sports Talk, and today, another video about the Detroit Lions, and this one is about the 5 Lions with the most pressure on them for the 2022 season. So, we'll go from bottom to top. So, I'm going to say the player with the 5th most pressure on him going into the season is Deandre Swift. Now, I kind of just put him on this list because, I think he has some pressure, but not an awful lot. He was drafted pretty early in the second round, and for a running back, who was taken ahead of Jonathan Taylor, there's pretty high expectations. And I'm not saying Deandre Swift hasn't been good, that he hasn't been an effective player, but it's time for him to put up some more yards, really be that 3-down back that we drafted him to be. I think if he has a pretty bad season or, he gets injured again, then we're going to have to make a decision to move on from him. The running back position is a tough one because, the average lifespan of a running back is 3 years, and they get beat up all the time. So usually their first contract deal is the biggest one. So if DeAndre Swift doesn't have a big year, I don't really see us moving ahead with him in the future, and we might have to look for a running back in the NFL draft. I don't think there's a ton of pressure. I think he's in pretty good shape, but I just want to see him continue to improve. If he gets 1,000 all-purpose yards, which I think he's capable of doing, then I think he's in pretty good shape. I think that most Lions fans view him pretty favorably. It's just we need to see the numbers back it up. Now we're getting into the pressure cooker a little bit, and these are 4 players that I think have quite a bit of pressure on them. So at number 4, I put Will Harris. So I just heard that they're moving Will Harris to cornerback, and they're moving someone else to safety. I forgot who it was, but it'll be interesting to see if that works out. I'm frankly surprised that Will Harris is on the roster because he's really struggled his first few seasons, and we need more out of the 3rd-round pick. There were many times there was miscommunication. He got beat deep. Didn't seem like he was aware of his assignment. Well, now it's the year to grow up. It's the year to have a, Armani Oruwariye year, where you have 5 or 6 interceptions. So personally, I'd like to see a lot more out of him. And if he really struggles, he could be cut or traded during the season. And we might not even get a good trade for him. So it might just be worth, cutting him if he doesn't pan out. And this is going to be a pretty big camp for him. Number 3, this is where it gets pretty heated. I'm going to go with Levi Honzarike, 2nd-round pick out of last year from Washington, defensive tackle. I'm not going to lie to you, last year was pretty disappointing. I know he got hurt, but when he was in there, he got pushed around a little bit. He did show some flashes, and it's only his 2nd year, but Brad Holmes invested a 2nd-round pick, one that he could have used on JOK or someone like that. He used that on Levi Honzarike. And I agree Honzarike is great off the ball, but we need to see more of that this year. Aleem McNeil really stepped up to the plate last year. I want to see the same thing from Honzarike, or else, it'll feel like a wasted 2nd-round pick, and I'm not sure we extend him in the future. I think that he can bounce back possibly next year. I might even think about moving him down to 4 on this list. But overall, I want to see him have a big year and at least show me that he was worth a 2nd-round pick, that he can at least get 2 or 3 sacks at least and stuff up the middle, not get pushed around like he did in the Seahawks game last year. At number 2, I'm going to go Jeff Okudah. Obviously, being a number 3 overall pick adds a lot of pressure. And Okudah struggled. I heard that he was on the right trajectory last year before he got hurt in the 49ers game, but really it's put up or shut up time this year. And I think he's poised to have a breakout year. I think the dude is talented. I think that he does have some ability, and cornerback is a tough position to play. So, you got to give him a little pass on that. But this is a year where, it's time to put up. And it's going to be tough coming off an ACL surgery. So I think that the pressure's on. If he wants that extension and he doesn't want to get some low deal somewhere else, then he's going to have to really step up to the plate, or else it's going to be a complete waste of a number 3 overall pick. And then number 1, I think this is pretty obvious. The player with the most pressure this year is Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff still has a couple years on his deal, but here's the key thing. If they cut him next year, the dead cap is not going to be a lot, so it's not going to hurt him. So if Jared Goff struggles again this year, like he did at the beginning of last year, then I think it's time to move on from him. That was the whole appeal of this deal, is that we could cut him after 2 years if he didn't work out. Now, I think he actually is going to have a decent season, but we need to see that, Now that we have one of the highest paid offenses in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league, a very good receiving core, a solid running back room, there's no excuses for Jared Goff to fall off this year. I think that he should have a pretty good season. Maybe throw for 25 to 30 touchdowns, less than 11 interceptions. If he has a close to 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, and he's throwing for quite a few yards a game, gets close to that 4,000 yard mark, I think I'd be pretty happy. If he's a little bit short of that, I think that's fine too. But this is a big year for him. Brad Holmes obviously likes Jared Goff, and he was willing to invest a lot in him. Even though he got a couple first-round picks, it's clear that he played a role in drafting Goff, and I can see it. He has good accuracy. There are good things about Jared Goff's game. But I want to see a little more consistency, and I want to see better game awareness at times. So, if he's throwing the ball out of bounds at 4th and 10, we're not going to be keeping him around this year, and we're going to be looking at a very talented quarterback draft class. We got a quarterback draft class with C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, a lot of talented quarterbacks. So if Jared Goff struggles this year, it might be time to look at one of those quarterbacks in the draft, and we might have to cut him after a couple of years. And then I don't know what kind of contract extension he's going to get. But if he has a big year, I think we should extend him. And if not, he'll get an extension somewhere else. So there's a lot of pressure on Jared Goff this year to perform. The good thing for him is he already has a few $1 million, so if he screws up, then at least he has that to look forward to. Whereas Jeff Okudah is still on a rookie deal, so that's a lot different. Maybe you could change those two around, I'm not sure. But there you have it. Those are the Lions with the most pressure on them this season. I don't think there's a whole lot of pressure on this coaching staff or on Brad Holmes or the front office because it's still a project. Even though I said we could win 8 games this year, the reality is we have absolutely no idea what the other teams are going to be like, and it's all about being better than last year. If we can clearly tell that this team is better than last year, then things are heading in the right direction. Just incremental improvement every year is what matters. So I think by year 3 we can talk about competing for a playoff spot. This year we might get lucky to sneak in because of a weak schedule, but still this is not quite talented enough to be a playoff team. So I don't think there's a whole lot of pressure on anybody yet. I think next year is when the pressure's going to cook up on Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes if they don't perform this year. So that's why I don't have them on this list. All right, thank you all for watching. Go Lions. Can't wait for this preseason to start. It's going to be so exciting. And Hard Knocks comes out just 3 days. Let's go. All right, y'all have a good one. Go take care.